What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for coming back for yet another week. So here we are at another one of my weekend vlogs. Today is actually Friday because I've got a lot to do today, a lot of updates. And again, this is going to be all Florida tips and probably will help those of you along the Gulf Coast and definitely into South Texas still at this time of year. So the first thing I'll give you is a quick update and why do I have this big line going through the lawn? Yeah, so if you've ever cut your fiber optic line, then you know what that is. If you missed it, I did a video a little over a week ago where I was installing this landscape lighting. I've still got a lot to do on that. It's going to be a whole series. But what I had let y'all know I was a little bit afraid of is I knew my fiber optic line ran through here and I had to dig a trench. Now, it's buried now, but I found a line and I thought, well, I must be good. But nope, I wasn't. That was an old line that I found. There's probably 4, 5, 6, 7 lines going through here, and one of them was my active one, and I hit it and cut it. So they came out and they did a temporary hookup that is running dangerously all around my property here, but somebody else is coming back to do a final one. I don't know how all that works. But anyway, one piece of advice I got from an electrician when I did this, I wanted to share it with you all, is when we use these connectors, he recommended that I go ahead and wrap these in electrical tape. He called it belt and suspenders, and that totally makes sense. You know, you're clamping these down, and they have little tabs on the side that clamp in, but that is possible. Those could come open, so it doesn't hurt to go ahead and back it up by doing a little bit of wrappage with some electrical tape. So just a quick little update there. And again, I've got to bury these and everything, so we got a whole bunch more content coming up on that all through the winter here. And so for now, we're going to get back to the lawn content. And the first thing that I'm going to do, by the way, I have sod coming today, so that's going to be a big deal. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But until that comes, I've got to do some irrigation checks, because the number one reason that your Florida lawn right now is looking bad is probably because you haven't been watering correctly. Now, the reason I'm guessing that, there's a lot of wind out here. Now, the reason I'm guessing that is because I've been doing this for a long, long time, and a lot of y'all don't realize that the summer is the rainy season, and so you get, me too, we get lazy, right? In the summer, you don't have to water. You don't have to run your irrigation. And well, now we're out of the rainy season, because the rainy season here is the summer. We're into the dry season, which is the fall and winter. And that means you need to fire up your irrigation system. A lot of you guys from up north, you're the opposite. You water in the summer, and then in the winter, you don't. And that's what happens. A lot of y'all that live here in Florida, you're from up north, and you're following your up north type of strategy, when really everything is exactly the opposite here in Florida. And so the first thing I want to do is let you know I have an ebook, a free ebook that talks about Florida lawn care through the winter. And it's so different from Jacksonville down to Miami. It might as well be two different sides of the country. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about over the winter, it'd be good if you had that guide. It would really help you to understand when I give you information how to apply it, because I'm in Southwest Florida, so I'm in Bradenton, Tampa Bay area. So kind of South Florida, but kind of Central Florida. And so I'm like right in the middle. Those of you guys that are in Orlando and over that way, it's kind of a crapshoot for you. Anyway, get that e-guide. It'll really help you as my content goes forward to understand how to apply it to your particular situation here in Florida. Okay, so this is my sprinkler tool. I don't think anybody outside of Florida even uses these, but this is what you use right now, this time of year, to make sure that your irrigation is working properly. Let me show you. You see these areas over here? See, my lawn is irrigated properly, okay? Everything's looking good. But you see these areas over here? Look at them starting to brown out. Why is that? Well, what that's telling me is something's happened to the irrigation heads. They're blocked. I'll just show you. Let me just show you. Because I had total domination over here not long ago, and now it's just, ugh. Especially right here. You can probably guess that that's where one of my irrigation heads is, but let's take a look at what's going on there. So you see this? It's really, that one's okay. It's not great. It's really this one. Can you see what's happened? The grass is taller than the head, number one, so I need to raise the whole head, but it's blocking, and the grass has pretty much swallowed the head as well. And that's what happens all during the summer. I've showed you guys before. We have stolons in here, and they wrap all the way around, and they make this thick, dense turf. Well, they also wrap around and choke off your sprinkler heads. So I actually have two problems here. Number one, I have a sprinkler head that's trapped and wrapped. And the other problem I have is if it's sunk and it's not high enough to get above the grass anymore. So I've got a little bit more maintenance to do here than just that. But we'll go ahead and do this first. I can't really do this one-handed, but what I'm doing is I'm just cutting out around the sprinkler donut. You can hear it. So in this case, the whole donut just came right up, which is great. And you can see how that fits perfectly around that. I don't think they use sprinkler donuts anywhere else but in Florida. And what the donut's supposed to do is it's supposed to help keep your heads from getting wrapped. But it still happens. It does help though. But you can see now my sprinkler head is freed way down in there. Look at that. But like I said, I need to raise it. So you can see that's everything that was wrapped around the head, and that definitely will affect the operation of it. See, look at that one. Completely buried. That's an old one. That's a Hunter. I haven't installed any Hunters, so that's one of the ones that was here when I moved in 8 years ago. So I might change that one out too. So you can hear it. Can you hear that? It's hitting the donut, and you can feel it. That's what makes this a useful tool. Now, people will ask, where do you get these? I got this one at Ace. So they don't really sell them online. I'll look. If they do, I'll give you a link. But I just found mine locally at Ace Hardware. A lot of weeds in here too. I need to do a weed spraying video, I know. See, much better. That's going to help the flow go a lot more. Let's do a couple more real quick. Oh, maybe not. Here, this is my sod, I think. All right, so I've got all my heads clear. You can see all the little piles everywhere, all the way around. So that's good now. But still, this area over here is just not getting enough good coverage, and it's just because the heads are not popping up high enough. I mean, this is really bad over here. I want to say a lot of y'all, I see you in the groups and stuff, and your lawn starts looking like this, and the first thing you do is you throw down fungicide and insecticide. Please do not make that your gut reaction to everything. This is 100% a water issue. So that's why you can look around. See, in the areas that are getting enough water, like up here, see, it's nice and green because that's getting enough water up there. Probably could use a little more, but it's definitely not as brown as what's right there. And that's just a water issue. So I just do this by hand. Just dig it out. It's good to get your hands in your dirt. Nothing wrong with that. It's good for you. Touch your soil. It's even therapeutic, I would say. Okay, so now I've dug out as much as I can by hand, and I need to just get out and waller out the sides a little bit more. If you have a shovel that looks like this, or a spade, I call this a post hole shovel. See how it's long and thin and it's concave? There's a different name for these. This is one of the first things I ever bought when I bought my first house, so I've had this for over 20 years. But you can see it's long and thin, and you can just slide it right down in there and just get right around the edges of your irrigation head. The idea is we got to get below it because I need to be able to get down under there and get to the elbow so I can change out these heads. Which, by the way, this is one of the easiest things that you can do as a homeowner, And it's really actually hard to find a contractor to do this. I'm just telling you, there's not a lot of people that do contract irrigation like this, especially for just 1 or 2 heads. A lot of installers, not a lot in maintenance. So it's really to your advantage to learn how to just change out your sprinkler heads. It's nothing to fear at all. Now keep in mind, there is a PVC pipe going somewhere out over here, so you're not gonna hammer this in there. It's just nice and easy, just around the edges, just to get yourself room to get down in there. So you see that right there? There's an elbow down underneath there. And all you gotta do now, because I got it all clear, I don't know if you can see, but the elbow is exposed on the sides. Can you see that? See the white down in there? That's the elbow. Now that that's exposed, all you have to do is just twist this off. The system is not under pressure. So what's under the ground that you can't see is an elbow like this. There's a piece of flexible lead that goes in there and goes off to the main water source, right? And you can see this has threads or 1/2 inch. And so this is what I pulled out of the ground right there, and that screws on there. And this is a cut-off riser that I had put on previously, and it's not tall enough anymore. So I actually have a much larger riser. This is not a cut-off riser, but it's exactly the same thing. But see, that's going to give us extra few inches. So all we're going to do is screw this on here, and I have just a whole drawer full of parts. That's why I had this on hand. And this head is still good. It works fine. I had really wanted to switch out to these larger ones, but for me to go and convert everything to 3/4, that's going to be a little bit more work than I'm able to do today. So I'm going to stick with the smaller head here and just put a much higher cutoff riser, or a much taller riser on it. You see, that'll give us a lot more height. And then hopefully that's right, because this is not a cutoff. It is what it is. If not, I do have another cutoff riser, but we're going to try to get away with this one. So let's go screw this in and see where we're at. So there you can see it down in there. See the threads? See the threads on there? So I just got to screw this right into that. Okay, there we go. Hey, look at that. That's right there where I need it. Right at the right level. So we got lucky with that one. So that was a pretty easy change. Now I just got to fill the hole back in. And I like to use sand for this. Reinstall my donut. There we go. The head has been risen. So I guess this is a good time for us to review also how much water does your lawn actually need. So I recommend 1.5 inches of water per week, and you lay that down in 3 waterings of 1/2 inch. So about every second or third day, you're gonna water with 1/2 inch. The biggest mistake people make when it comes to watering is they say, well, my sprinklers come on every day for 10 minutes. And that doesn't really tell me anything. What you really need to do is put out a tuna can and understand how long does it take for each zone to put out a 1/2 inch of water. I'll link up there to a video where I show you how to take the tuna can challenge, and then you'll have really good knowledge of how much water you're actually putting down. 10 minutes means nothing. 1/2 inch means everything. One other thing I did want to stress, if you are up in northern Florida and your lawn happens to go dormant here sometime in the next couple weeks, you do still want to keep watering. That's for any of you. Even if your lawn goes dormant here in the winter, and it's going to for a lot of you, you need to keep watering at least 1 to 1.5 inches per week, even though the lawn is dormant, and that is because the soil is not dormant. Also, watering will just help if we do get some colder temperatures than your lawn likes. It'll help avoid damage that way. It'll help it to wake up faster when things do get warm. But keep in mind, just because the grass is dormant, the soil is not. Our soil doesn't freeze here, so you need to keep adequate moisture in that soil to keep the microbes alive and healthy. All right, so to finish this up, as you may or may not have figured out, I had to reject the sod. Now, I'm not here to disparage anyone's business, so I'm gonna go ahead and block out who this was, but just so you guys know, I have plenty of sod farms around that I could call and ask, hey, this is the lawn care nut, I need some sod, and I could get it. But I decided for this video, what I wanted to do was go through a process that you would go through, a process of going to a local supplier, a landscape supply place, go in, order. I was gonna show you how that process went, how much it costs, all that kind of stuff, and kind of take you through it. I thought that would be really good content, but this didn't work out, and so I'm not going to be able to do that. But I did want to give you two pieces of advice here, and the first one is, if you do order sod from like a local supplier, landscape supply place like this, make sure that you are home when they deliver, because if they deliver and drop off and you're not there, once that sod is dropped and they leave, you're stuck with it. So always make sure that you're home, and if something doesn't look right, you reject that sod. And then the second thing is, after this happened, I decided, well, I need Palmetto St. Augustine grass because I got to fix all that. So I started calling around, and I found that there really isn't anyone around here that grows Palmetto St. Augustine grass. Like everybody, most people, I mean, obviously somebody grows it, but most people have stopped growing it. So the reason this is important is I'm seeing in our groups a lot of y'all, mostly on the East Coast, you're having issues with that sugarcane mosaic virus, which I'll link below to it. There's lots you can read on it, but it basically kills Floratam, which is what this is. And when it kills your Floratam, you cannot replant Floratam because it will continue to kill it. So you have to switch varieties. And Palmetto was one of the choices. However, as I'm finding, people are not growing Palmetto, so I would not switch to that. I would choose Citra Blue. Citra Blue is like the new kid on the block, so all the sod farms are growing it. You know, they go for the trends just like anybody, and the trend is Citra Blue. It's got the most marketing behind it right now, and it is one that can replace Floratam when you have sugarcane mosaic. So don't go for Palmetto, because I don't know if you're going to be able to get it. Now, again, they might grow it in other parts of the state, but just from what I'm finding, I think Citra Blue would be better because pretty much everybody is growing that. So that's a little bit I learned there. So I do have a solution for this, though, that I will come up with next week. So you want to make sure you just subscribe here, because I will show you exactly what I am going to do to take care of that area right there. So with that, I hope this video has been helpful to you. The biggest thing is get that watering right, and everything else will start to fall in line. I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the lawn.